Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bashem HAMASHIACH YAHAWASHI. And I'm going to do this lesson titled, Be a Fool for HAMASHIACH to Become Wise. And I'm going to start with the book of James. And I'm going to start with chapter 1, verses 5 through 8. And it reads, If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahweh that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. So he's saying, if anyone is asking for wisdom, they need to go to the Most High Yahweh, who gives it to all men liberally. Verse 6, But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for if he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. So when you go and ask, take it to the throne, you got to believe. You got to have faith. What is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, but the evidence of things not seen. Even though you can't see him right now, you got to believe that he is who he is and that he's there. He's up in the spiritual realm. Verse 7, For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. And this is applying to the men and the women. It always says the man because he created man in his own image. But the women, they came from the man. Verse 8, A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So if you don't believe, you don't have faith when you take it to the throne of grace, then nothing's going to happen because you're being double-minded. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of 1 Corinthians. And I'm going to start at verse 3. Salakia, chapter 3, verses 18 to 21. And it reads, Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. So we got to become fools for HAMASHIACH YAHAWASHI's sake. Verse 19, For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with Yahweh. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. For all this world's wisdom, it's foolishness to the Most High. That's why we need the Most High's wisdom, not the world's wisdom. Yeah, there's things people can learn here, but first and foremost, you need to know about what Yahweh said. That's all Yahawashi was doing, was following his father, Yahweh. Let me read verse 19 again. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with Yahweh, for it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. Verse 20, And again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. He's saying it's all vain. He said this is all vain. Verse 21, Therefore let no man glory in men, for all things are yours. So you're not supposed to put your faith in a man. You're supposed to put your faith in the Most High Yahweh, the one, and he gave his son the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to do everything. That's what he was doing, was following the Father. So that's what we put our trust in. You know, he's given us everything we need through the scriptures. It says, verse 21, Therefore let no man glory in men, for all things are yours. So we're not supposed to glory in a man. We're supposed to glory in the Most High. That's who you put your trust in. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon, and I'm going to go to chapter 3, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 11, and it reads, But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Yahweh, and there shall no torment touch them. So if you're doing what the Lord says and you're being obedient, he says no torment is going to touch you. You may go through some trials and tribulations, but you're going to be shielded and guarded from most of the stuff that the world is dealing with out there, because you're not going to get no peace in the world. Like Yahawashi said, he said, In me you may have peace, but not as the world gives. He says, But be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. So if Yahawashi overcame, then you can overcome through him. Verse 2, In the sight of the unwise they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery. Verse 3, And they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace. Remember, he said, There is no peace, saith the Lord, unto the wicked. That's what he said in the book of Isaiah. But if you're doing the things that are pleasing in his sight, there is peace. There is peace for the people when they leave. Verse 4, for though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality, that everlasting life. The ones that that die in Christ. That's why Paul said to live is Christ, but to die is gain. So if you're being obedient, whether here or there, it's about HAMASHIACH YAHAWASHI. It's about him, either way. Verse 5, and having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For God proved them and found them worthy for himself. So the ones that he chose, he found worthy for himself. And that's why, and having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. Remember in Revelations, the last book in the Bible, he says, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as their work shall be. That's why we got to keep doing the work. Remember he said in Baruch, chapter 4, he said, since it was our mind to go astray from him, coming back, we have to seek him 10 times more. We have to really, really seek him harder. Verse 6, as gold in the furnace hath he tried them and received them as a burnt offering. He receives and chastises the ones he loves. This is what he's saying here. Verse 7, and in the time of their visitation they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. That sounds like Daniel. How the ones that be wise and teach to the people, they're going to shine like the firmament. In Daniel chapter 12, I'm just paraphrasing. Verse 8, they shall judge the nations and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. The Lord is that kingdom is going to be an everlasting kingdom. Once a HAMASHIACH YAHAWASHI's kingdom comes in, it's going to be forever. It's never going to end. Verse 9, they that put their trust in him shall understand the truth. What is the truth? Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. So the laws, the statutes, commandments, that's the truth. They will understand the truth. Let me start it over in verse 9. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. And love is keeping the commandments. It says that in 1 John. That's what Yahawashi said in John 14:15. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. That's what love is. Let me start verse 9 over. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect. Sounds like Peter at the end says how he says how the Lord's eyes is over the righteous, and his ears is open unto their prayers. But his face is against those that do evil. But he cares for his saints. He cares for them. And then it's in Peter where he says, he put all your trust in him because he careth for you. That's in Peter. Verse 10. But the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the righteous and have forsaken the Lord. And see, when they come against us and they just keep rejecting when we're trying to help them, they're not rejecting us. Because Yahawashi actually said, what you have done to them, you've done it to me. So people need to remember that. When they're coming rejecting us, you know, they're choosing, well, we're not going to have no other king but Caesar. They're picking and choosing who they want to hear it from instead of hearing it. If it's coming, the word is what is coming straight out the scriptures and they're teaching it the right way, then they should hear what God has to say. And not do all that partiality, bias, picking and choosing who they want. They need to, if a man is bringing it the right way, they need to be first and foremost listen to Yahweh, put their trust in him. And if he's bringing it straight from the scriptures, he said, try the spirits to see whether they are of man or of Yahweh, of God himself. If they're doing that, that's who you follow, God. You follow Yahweh, the one that created the heavens and the earth. Now I lost my spot. And verse 11 reads, for whoso despiseth wisdom and nurture, he is miserable. And there is, Salakia, and their hope is vain. Their labor is unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. That's why Yahawashi said, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and then loses his soul? It's going to be unprofitable if you're not doing the things that are pleasing in His sight. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Psalms. Book of Psalms, or actually, I'm going to go to Ecclesiastes 8. Salakia. Ecclesiastes chapter 8. And I'm going to read verse 1 through 5. Can you read? Who is as the wise man, and who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. So the Lord is saying, who is a wise man, and who knows the interpretation of a thing? Well, the Most High Yahweh knows, and Yahawashi knew. Verse 2. I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment, and that in regard of the oath of Yahweh. The king is Yahawashi. And we're supposed to follow Yahawashi, because all he did was follow Yahweh. That's the king. Verse 3. Be not hasty to go out of his sight. Stand not in an evil thing, for he doeth whatsoever pleaseth him. And the Lord does whatsoever he wanteth. He's up in the heavens. It says in Psalms, and he does whatsoever he wills. Verse 4. Where the word of a king is, there is power. And who may say unto him, what doest thou? You can't ask him, why are you doing this? He does whatsoever he wants. He's up in the heavens, and he does whatsoever he wills. Verse 5. Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing. And a wise man's heart, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. So a wise man's mind is going to be able to discern time and judgment, because he's going to keep his mind stayed on the scriptures. It said, like in Isaiah 26, he will keep thee in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. And from there, I'm going to go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, and I'm going to read verse 1 through 7, and it reads, Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand. Learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Verse 2, Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. So he's saying you got to hearken and listen to what the Lord, the King of Kings, is saying, first and foremost. Verse 3, For power is given you of the Lord, and severity from the highest. Who shall try your works and search out your counsels? He trieth the reins and the hearts. He knows what's going on in our minds. He knows who's sincere, and he knows who's playing around. Verse 4, Because being ministers of his kingdom, you have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of Yahweh. So the Lord knows what people are doing. He's watching us. We're under a cloud of witnesses, like it says in Hebrews 12. That's why I'm going to keep touching on that. No matter what people do in front of people, then when they leave, the Lord's seeing all that. We're under the cloud of witnesses. Verse 5, Horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. So all the ones that are pompous, arrogant, have the preeminent spirit, proudful, he's going to deal with them. He says a speedy and quick judgment is coming upon them. Verse 6. Verse 6. For mercy will soon pardon the meanest, but mighty men shall be mightily tormented. So the Lord is explaining it. He's saying the ones that are high and mighty, he's going to bring them off that pedestal. And he resists the proud, but gives grace unto the humble. Verse 7. For he which is Lord over all shall fear no man's person. He has no respect of person, in other words. Neither shall he stand in awe of any man's greatness. And we're like, what does it say in Isaiah? We're like grasshoppers in Isaiah chapter 40. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers. We're so little to him. We're just little. We need to understand our place and stay humble in this. Let me read verse 7 again. For he which is Lord over all shall fear no man's person, neither shall he stand in awe of any man's greatness. For he hath made the small and great, and careth for all alike. So it doesn't matter about stature. status. He doesn't care. He has no respect of person. For he that doeth wrong, they're going to receive for the wrong which they have done. Like Paul said in Colossians 3:25, says, and there is no respect of person. He's going to come after the ones that are doing wrong. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Psalms. Book of Psalms, chapter 1. Let's see, Psalms chapter 1. Psalms chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Verse 2. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So he's going to stay in the word day and night. He's going to always have that time and have communion with the Most High. Verse 3. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. You're going to always prosper because you're being obedient. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of James, chapter 4. Book of James, chapter 4. And I'm going to read verse 8 through 10. And it reads, Draw near to Yahweh, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Verse 9, Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. Verse 10, Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. It's all about humility. That's why I keep stressing we got to stay humble. And he's going to lift you up in due season. You don't need to exalt yourself. He says all those that exalt themselves will be abased, and those that humble themselves will be exalted. So we got to stay humble in it. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Proverbs. Solomon, book of Proverbs, chapter 2. Proverbs chapter 2, verse 6 through 12, and it reads, For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. He layeth up sound wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. He'll be your shield and your buckler, your fortress and your refuge. He'll be a very present help in a time of trouble, if you're walking uprightly. Verse 8, He keepeth the paths of judgment, and preserveth the way of his saints. He's going to always preserve the saints. Verse 9, Then shalt thou understand righteousness and judgment and equity, every good path. He's going to be a lamp unto your feet, and he's going to guide you into all truth. Verse 8, He keepeth the paths of the judgment, and preserveth the way of his saints. Verse 9, Then shalt thou understand righteousness and judgment and equity, every good path. Verse 10, When wisdom entereth into thine heart, and knowledge and pleasant, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul. So when you're doing this out of a sincere heart, out of a joyfulness of heart. Verse 11, Discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee. Verse 12, To deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh froward things. He's going to deliver you. That's why when he said that prayer, Yahawashi in John 17, he said, I pray that you should not take them out of the world. In one of the precepts in John 17, he says, but I pray that you keep them from the evil one. So he'll be your shield and your buckler, your fortress and your refuge. He'll protect you in times of trouble. And from there, I'm going to go to the I'm going to stay in Proverbs chapter 4, and I'm just going to read verse 5 through 10, and it reads, Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Verse 6, Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. 7, Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. So as you read the scriptures, you got to pray to the Most High that he gives you the understanding of what the scriptures are actually saying. And you have to be able to receive the engrafted word, which is able to save your soul. Verse 8. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou doest embrace her. 9. She shall give to thine head an ornament of grace. A crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. Verse 10. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. She's going to add, this wisdom is going to add years to your life. That's what the Lord said, and he promised this. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Exodus. The book of Exodus. And so he gave us some instructions on what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm going to go to chapter 18. And I'm going to read verse 19 to 23. And it reads. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward. So he wants us to be a light and a beacon to the people. That thou mayest bring the causes unto Yahweh. And then we have an issue, we take it to the throne. Take it to Yahweh. But we do need counsel at times. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. So we have to teach. We have to train up the children in the way they should go, and when they get older, they will not depart from it. 21. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear Yahweh, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. So once the Lord increases you, you're supposed to put there's supposed to be elders, there's supposed to be officers, there's supposed to be all these different people doing their part. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. So it will make it easier. It goes with that one body with many parts, and everybody working together doing their part. Not just having the whole load put on one or two people. Everybody in the body has to do their part. Verse 23. If thou shalt do this thing, and God command thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure, and all this people shall also go to their place in peace. They will go to their place in peace. He will keep thee in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. If you're keeping your mind on these precepts, on these laws, statutes, commandments, the ordinances. And from there, I'm going to go back to the book of James. Back to the book of James. Book of James, and I'm going to go to chapter 3, verse 17 through 18, and it reads. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. So the wisdom of God is easy to be entreated. And if the people are receiving it right and being a doer of it, they're not going to show partiality. They're not going to be biased. They're not going to treat nobody different than the other. And it's without hypocrisy. Verse 18, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. You got to in making peace, Yahawashi was the Prince of Peace. So the Prince of Peace left the instructions here. He was the Prince of Peace. Now I'm going back to the book of Proverbs, chapter 3. Proverbs, chapter 3. And I'm going to read verse 13 through 19. And it reads, Happy is a man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. Verse 14, For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. Verse 15, She is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her. having this wisdom, you can't compare God's wisdom to anything else. In other words, 16, length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. This is another one saying how he's going to add length of days to you. Verse 17, her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. To keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Verse 18, she is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retaineth her. That lay hold on it and keep it. Not run for a little bit of the race or the marathon and then stop halfway. Keep doing it. Verse 19, the Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth. By understanding hath he established the heavens. He did all this with his wisdom. And from there, I'm going to go to Sirach, chapter 25. Sirach 25. And I'm going to read 5 through 12, and it reads, oh, how comely is the wisdom of old men, and understanding and counsel to men of honor. Verse 6, much experience is the crown of old men, and the fear of Yahweh is their glory. So that a man with some age should be fearing the Lord, just like every other man, young or old, but this is talking about older men. They should have the fear of the Lord, because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. He said, a good understanding have all they that keep and do the commandments. Verse 7, there be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemies. This is rejoices the Lord. Verse 8, well is him that dwelleth with the wife of understanding, and that hath not slipped with his tongue, and that hath not served a man more unworthy than himself. So you're supposed to follow Yahawashi. Verse 9, well is him that hath found prudence, and he that speaketh in the ears of them that will hear, that will receive the engrafted word, which is able to save their soul. Verse 10, oh, how great is he that findeth wisdom, yet is there none above him that feareth the Lord. So the Lord wants people to fear him, and fearing him is keeping the commandments. Verse 11, but the love of the Lord passes all things for illumination. He that holdeth it whereto shall be likened. You're going to be like him. Like it says, we don't know what we're going to become, but we know we're going to be just like him. Verse 12, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. So this is faith, doing the things that he's saying, believing, and being a doer of the word. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, and I'm going to read verse 26 to 29. And it reads, says, there is none like unto the God of Jeshurun, which is another name for Israel, Yasharallah, who rideth upon the heaven in thy help, and in his excellency on the sky. Verse 27, the eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms, and he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, destroy them. Verse 28, Israel then shall dwell in safety alone. The fountain of Jacob shall be upon a land of corn and wine. Also his heaven shall drop down dew. Verse 29, happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by the Lord, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. And thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. So the Lord he's going to let it be known that he came into, he's letting it be known now, he came into the world to give testimony of the truth. And everybody else is going to be found liars here. And with that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shem, HAMASHIACH YAHAWASHI. Shalom.